Hey, man.
Christopher.
Second Senior Bowl practice. The Patriots are not bringing back their cornerbacks coach, Mike Pellegrino. That is a headline on NFL Network. But the American team is about to practice.
Well, must add still some of that rift going on with the Patriots up there. That was
Yeah.
one of the problems they had last year. Same with the Raiders. Hopefully they get some stability. The Raiders
Yep.
will with Carroll. That's for sure. People are laughing at it, but that's a good hire. Tom
Yep.
Brady knows what he's doing.
I agree.
And
But
they
yeah,
got
we
some
get to
weapons
watch
on
the
that
South
offense.
team. The headline player, I think, on the American team. I don't know why I said South. It used to be North and South at the Senior Bowl. Now it's National and American.
Yeah. I guess it's because East-West Shrine game. I guess they didn't want directions the same way or something. Get people confused.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, man, it's definitely we're right in the middle of this week. Well, besides the game, right in the middle of the practice anyway.
Yep.
Seen some good things from some good players, and especially those Iowa players.
Agreed.
On defensive tackle, he's got some push to him and he's got some attitude, so that really helps out.
I definitely think so too. I'm just looking for two tackles. I think Ernest Green declared. He may have gone back, but I think Truss and Green both declared. I could be wrong on that.
Yeah.
Because I've updated the receiver, tight end, running back rankings. I haven't updated the tackle rankings yet. I'll do that after the show. But I'm just trying to make sure I have every single detail correct. But I had Belton, Mabo. A lot of these guys are on my radar back in the fall. I've had to make some positions you got to make a lot of tweaks with, and others you don't have to make very many. But you still have to modify the board accordingly once you know who's in the class.
Yeah, for sure. The top of the class too. That's one. I've seen slip in a few mock drafts as Will Campbell from LSU. Slip down to like the Niners kind of thing, and that's one thing I really wouldn't mind. Offensive line in the trenches are what matters. That's where it all starts.
Yep.
And if you have pass rush with four, they can't throw the ball and everybody else is in coverage, then they're in trouble. And that's where Steve Wilkes was messing up with the Niners as defensive coordinator. He was trying to defensive end coach, do exotic blitzes, that kind of stuff. It's like rush four, put everybody else in coverage. Fred Warner is a dog in coverage. Hell, he played for 8 weeks with a broken ankle.
Yep.
Still made the Pro Bowl. It's like, yeah. But that's my rant for the day, at least on the Niners.
Yeah, Ernest Green the third, is he in the draft or did he go back to Georgia? That's kind of because I'm reading an interview he did a few days ago, but he's not in the. I'm not sure if he's coming back because he's a sophomore redshirt. He's kind of young. He could go back, but I think he would have been like a fourth if he had declared. But it sounds like he might be going back. I can always look up the name on X because I feel like I'm gonna have more of a result doing that.
Sure.
Deion Walker warming up. He had a good day yesterday. But the thing with Walker that a lot of scouts don't like is he plays with a high pad. His pad level's too high.
Yeah, and that's one of those things you got to really get up to coaching and hope they can fix their mechanics and get lower if they got light feet. I mean,
Yep.
Some of the ones in the past few years. Some of the ones in the last few years have definitely. There was like Trevor Penning; he was light on his feet. The center for the Ravens also, he's kind of light on his feet. I think he was the one I saw get blown up the other day, and literally lifted off the ground by the defensive tackle, and it was like, whoa. But yeah, dude. I'm trying to see what's on here on the.
Yeah, because there's guys there's a few guys I know I'm going to have to replace. Austin Barber, Trey Zune, the Texas left tackle, and Austin Barber, the Florida left tackle. They both went back, but I think everybody else either declared or went back. And that's the challenge. That's the challenge, is identifying those players and tweaking everything accordingly so that your rankings have no flaws and there's no underclassmen that aren't in the draft that went back to college or in the portal. That's the hard part, but we've got that cleared for most of the main positions: QB, receiver, running back, tight end, most skill positions. But yeah, Devin Neal, we're going to see him. We're going to see these quarterbacks. Can Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe make improvements in day 2? That's the big question.
They have to. Jackson Dart went downhill yesterday, and Milroe wasn't far behind. They have to come back and make a progression, and it'll also, show the want and desire on their part, whether they do or not, or whether they put effort into it. Even if they don't accomplish it, putting effort into it is one of those things that's top notch.
Yeah. Kobe Bryant, the Kansas Jayhawks corner, had a good week at the Shrine Bowl. That's one thing Joey did see this week. He's been watching the Shrine Bowl, I guess, more so than the Senior Bowl. We'll get word from him on Saturday, but I don't know when I'm starting Saturday's podcast, because last year we started the podcast at 10 a.m. and then we live streamed the Shrine Bowl when it started at 1 p.m. The Senior Bowl. We streamed the Senior Bowl at 1. Senior Bowl starts at 2:30 this year versus 1 last year. So I don't want to be on the air for 4.5 hours talking about topics, ranting about stuff with Joey.
Joey will drop about 4 F-bombs by the time it's over.
Exactly. It's like, if we go on the air, Joey's not going to have the energy to want to live stream the Shrine Bowl by 2:30 if we go on the air at 10. I already know that. By intuition, by experience, from all the podcasts I've done with Joey over the years. I already know that. So if I do a podcast, I do have a Senior Bowl live stream planned for 2:30 where me, William, Joey will probably all comment on the game, but I'm probably going to start Saturday's podcast at noon. Will be the rare exception where you'll get 2 hours of Joey and I only on Talk Shoe, and then we'll have the Senior Bowl coverage at 2:30, and then we'll go back to the 10 a.m. format next Saturday. This Saturday, you'll just have the live stream at 2:30, and then Joey and I will be on Talk Shoe, because that'll allow William to get whatever personal things he needs to get done from 10 a.m. to 2:30, and then he can just come on here at 2:30. I know it's kind of whack.
Drink a few Red Bulls, listen to some Energy Base, Third Eye Blind, radio on Pandora. I'll be up and ready to go.
But 2:30, that's 12:30 Mountain Time, 2:30 Eastern. But yeah, with all the stuff you like to do before shows in the morning, you'll have plenty of energy by that point if we start at 2:30 versus 10 a.m.
Right. Yeah, that'll give me a little bit more time to get rolling, get a little bit more anger through my system.
Yep.
Lack of patience. Yeah. We won't go.
South Carolina put up a graphic that says TJ Sanders drafted first overall. He's in the Senior Bowl. He hasn't even been drafted yet. Are you that confident the Titans are going to take TJ Sanders over a quarterback or Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter? I'm just curious. South Carolina, you must have a lot of confidence in Sanders to post it's not even a poster. It's like a billboard. You're posting a billboard saying he's the number 1 pick in the draft, the official number 1 pick. That takes a lot of stones to do.
The last few years, the Titans have gone quarterback, day 2, second, third round, Malik Willis, Will Levis, and I think that they're due for a good pick. And Ward might be two years.
They're either going to go Carter or Ward. And if they go Carter, they're going to get Milroe or Dart or Ewers on day 2 at 33.
They could probably get a lot for that pick. They could at least move down a couple spots and gain, an extra first rounder.
Because even though it would be nice for the Titans to have a good quarterback, there's not really much of a hurry to get that quarterback. You just want to have an established quarterback by 2027 when new Nissan Stadium opens. They're constructing a new indoor facility outside of Nissan Stadium, the outdoor place where the Titans play. They're constructing a new indoor stadium. You just want to have your quarterback by that time.
Yeah. for sure. And that's one of those things with the Titans and how they have been managed. You know, it's kind of one of those things. They almost with Vrabel, you know, got to that next man up thing like the Patriots, you know, and kind of slowly building, waiting for the pieces to, you know, fall in place, waiting to hit on
The
the
Titans
right
had the Titans had their team right where they wanted. One seed they were the one seed. The year they lost to the Bengals, they were the one seed in the AFC over the Chiefs. And they had everything in play to be a stable team for the next 2 years, but then they trade AJ Brown to the Eagles, and then they fire Mike Vrabel, and then they set themselves back. So
And they did, you know, Traylon Burks. He had, you know,
and
some
they got the
great
wrong
potential.
receiver to replace. That's the other thing, William. They got Traylon Burks to replace AJ Brown. They
That was a
drafted the
funny
wrong
draft.
receiver, and by drafting that bust and then drafting Willis, they actually set themselves back
Well,
as a
that's the year the
franchise.
Redskins, you know, took Dobson at, you know, what was it, 16 or 17, something like that. And
I would like to see the Washington Redskins come back. I think the logo could come back, but not the Redskins name, because apparently it's a slur. Some people view it as a slur to Native Americans, like the N-word to Native Americans. So they're not. I don't think they're going to bring Redskins back. But speaking of Washington, they did come out with stadium renderings yesterday for a new stadium, and you can see the Capitol and the White House building from the new stadium renderings for the indoor stadium at RFK. But the Commanders, they released renderings yesterday for a new stadium.
But that was one thing the congressman from, what was it, Montana, was holding it up until they did something with the logo. You know, because that's cheap white cap, and it's, you know, the same guy, the same designer that did the Buffalo nickel and everything. You know, I mean, he said he was going to hold up the cleanup at RFK until they did something with the logo. And I really respect that, because, you know, there are so many Native Americans out there. I live amongst them out here in Colorado, and I've not met one of them that was offended. You know, they're flattered that the Utah Utes are called the Utes. You know, the Northern Utes love that. And I've talked to, you know, many of them. It's like 1%, and then it's like, you know, some people trying to pat them on the head and say, "Oh yeah, oh sorry about this," and it's like, man, just it's something to be proud of. You know, even if they don't use the Redskins name, okay, you know, if some people consider that a slur, then whatever. But the logo, do something with the logo.
Yeah, if they brought back the logo, I could live with the whatever the name is. But yeah,
I know Daniel Kelly's been mad about that the last few years. You know, he wants his team back, and I don't blame him. You know,
neither do I. I like the Redskins. They should be the Redskins. Yeah, NFL Game Day. Yeah, the board game NFL Game Day, they have magnets for all the NFL teams, and as you can see, the Redskins logo, Redskins right there. I'm trying to Redskins. It's one of the logos. We're not playing a board game right now. Senior Bowl's on. Maybe we'll do a Chiefs Eagles board game simulation for the Super Bowl. I'm kidding, but yeah.
I had a fantasy football one. Board game is somewhere in my house or in my storage, but yeah, that could definitely be some fun. I mean,
yeah, because really how the game works is you get 5 offensive and 5 defensive cards, and you get like play actions, pass, run play. You get zone blitz, you get pass defense, run defense cards, and there's 20 kick return cards. There's 1 fumble kick return for a touchdown, and there's 1 kick return for a touchdown card, and the other 18 cards are kick return for 10 yards, 20, 40, 30, etc., etc. So that's really how the game works.
Money into that. Definitely get some serious money into that. I'm gonna have to
find it. And you get 5 cards at the start of the game. Also, if you call a timeout, you have to discard your hand and draw 5 new cards, and the half ends whenever a player runs out of cards. And you get 5 offense, 5 defensive cards too. So you can only play the defensive cards when you're on defense and the offensive cards when you're on offense. So that's pretty much how the game works.
I remember back on CBSSportsline.com, what was it like?
I got this board game when I was working at Panera, because the Dick's Sporting Goods, I did work at Panera for a few years, but the Panera by me, it was the first drive-through Panera in the world, because the very first Panera opened in the very first Panera in Pennsylvania opened up in Pittsburgh, but it opened at the Northway Mall by the original Dick's Sporting Goods. And then they put a drive-through Panera They put a Dick's Sporting Goods in McCandless Crossing, and they put the first drive-through Panera by the new Dick's Sporting Goods in McCandless Crossing, which was within walking distance of the original Dick's Sporting Goods at the Northway Mall, which kept getting renovated and gentrified. And now there's a Dave & Buster's where the original Dick's Sporting Goods in 1994 was at the Northway Mall. Isn't that insane? They took that down because the mall was such a shithole at that point. And then they put the Dick's Sporting Goods right there. But there's like a Cinemark, there's a Home Goods, and there was a drive-through Panera. I worked at the drive-through Panera, but one day I went to Dick's because my mom was still working at McKnight or school or whatever. And I was like, you know what? This NFL Game Day board game looks like a lot of fun. And that's how I got the game.
Nice.
But yeah, that
one of those splurges.
All right. That rant is over. They're in commercials. Hopefully the commercials end and we can go back to some football.
Yep, everybody's looking for it, man.
Yeah.
That's one thing about this.
Their NFL is promoting a cornhole some Hall of Fame merchandise, Hall of Fame cornhole, Hall of Fame t-shirts. Steve Weish is holding a baby. Pro Football Hall of Fame store.com ad. Okay, nice. But yeah, this Hancock Whitley Stadium, this is on the South Alabama campus. The reason I know this, William, is because I went to the very last Senior Bowl at Ladd-Peebles Stadium in 2020. And I also went to the very first one at Hancock Whitley Stadium. They had a practice in 2020 at Hancock Whitley Stadium because of the weather. And it was because the indoor facility was constructed at the time. The outdoor stadium wasn't. But my Airbnb was within walking distance of the South Alabama campus. The Airbnb I stayed at in 2020 and in 2021, it was within walking distance of the college campus. So,
whatever happened to that quarterback last year that was from South Alabama?
Carter Bradley, the son of Gus Bradley. I
gave him a 7th round grade because the kid could play, and that's one thing. But he, it was one thing to where his ceiling felt kind of like, maybe a good backup. But he can still play, and he knew he was smart as hell. But he just wasn't very mobile. And
he is on the Raiders.
Oh,
he's on the Raiders.
Nice. Yeah,
so the Raiders starting quarterback was Aiden O'Connell. The backup was Gardner Minshew. When they both got injured, the third string quarterback became Desmond Ridder. And Carter Bradley was the practice squad quarterback most of the year. But when Aiden O'Connell and Minshew were both injured, Carter Bradley got promoted to backup. So Carter Bradley was the backup at a certain point this year with the Raiders, but they just redshirted him. They never played him. Even with Desmond Ridder on the team, they never entertained the idea of benching Ridder for Bradley.
The only thing that was ever impressive about Desmond Ridder was his arm, and I mean, it was decent. He had decent touch. But, Carter Bradley's, I feel, a better quarterback. Maybe not a season because he's been in the NFL, 1 or 2 less years than Ridder. But Ridder also, whatever happened in Atlanta, that 3rd round or whatever he was picked, it was. I didn't agree with that so much.
Yep.
YouTube.
Yeah, Marcus Freeman's at the Senior Bowl. They're interviewing him.
Yeah, I wonder when, I see him sticking around at Notre Dame, to build kind of a legacy with what he has, and getting that experience before, I don't know, jumping to the NFL might not be his game. But, staying where he is, he can make a lot of money. And he's a great coach. I mean, what he did with Riley Leonard and Notre Dame, brought him all the way to the championship game and at least had him in the conversation,
I'm still here, William. I'm not going anywhere. I am making some hot chocolate.
Some hot chocolate, man? That sounds awesome.
I'm thirsty and my throat hurts. Like, it actually hurts, so.
You're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me.
I'm not going to make coffee, but I am going to make some hot chocolate.
Shit, I need some coffee, another cup, and I don't even drink it. One of those days. Got to get going. Day 1 recap. Anyway, guys, I guess talking about quarterbacks
Here,
this year.
I mean, there's practices. They're showing some drills here. Good.
That's what I'm after. That's definitely what I'm after.
They're showing some drills here. They're showing R.J. Oben. He's the son of former offensive tackle Roman Oben, who played left tackle for the Buccaneers in Super Bowl 37. I think he played. Sure. I think he played for a few teams across the league. And Jack Kaiser, another Golden Domer, is also at the Senior Bowl.
Nice.
I mean,
I'm pulling up this American practice.
Day 2 of the Senior Bowl only got 11 views versus the 24 yesterday, but we had 24 people in the chat room watching us live. So we had more people in the chat room watching us live. But yeah, Jeremiah Davis and Rhett Lewis are interviewing Marcus Freeman about Notre Dame's season.
Nice.
And for those wondering why I turned the coffee machine on, I can make hot chocolate or coffee. And because my throat's a little raspy, I made some hot chocolate. I put the water back in the sink, but yeah, it's like...
I always mixed it for years. I just dumped a pack of hot cocoa.
I don't mix my hot chocolate and coffee, but like if I have 8 cups of coffee and 9 cups of hot chocolate, I'll make hot chocolate before I make coffee so that I preserve both longer, you know?
Right.
I try to preserve both for a longer period.
I'm checking out this line from yesterday. Make a few comments on it.
What's the Super Bowl line? Somebody asked me what the line for the Super Bowl is, what the point spread is. Super Bowl 59 point spread. I'll look that up right now. The Chiefs are 1.5 point favorites. The Eagles opened up as the favorite because more people are betting on them to win the Super Bowl, but the Chiefs are actually favorites in the Super Bowl by 1.5 points. I think it's because they were underdogs against the Niners, Eagles, and the only time the Chiefs were favored in a Super Bowl was against Tampa, and they lost to Tampa. So I do think that's interesting that the Chiefs are favorites. But at this point, you know, the Chiefs have gone through hell and back. They've sort of earned the right to be the favorite. I don't really have an issue with it either way.
Yeah, for sure. This LSU lineman just blew up this
Emory Jones
put him to the ground.
But he's done a lot better on day 2 from what I heard. I moved Ursery ahead of Emory Jones on my offensive tackle rankings because I've just been more impressed with Ursery at the Senior Bowl, William. You know, it's like Ursery's had 2 good days. Jones had a bad first day. It's not that I'm not ready to move Jones below some of the other tackles in the draft, but I think at this point, Ursery's done enough to move ahead of Emory Jones.
Yeah. This Arizona lineman?
Jonas Savannah. I know Bill Sparks is a first-round grade on the Arizona right tackle. I had him in the 3rd round, but there's a lot of people that are fans of Savannah. I'm curious what your thoughts are on him.
That's another player that I haven't seen a whole lot of. I'm gonna have to watch some more before I make an educated comment on it.
Gotta be
like
careful.
I was saying, this Webb kid looked like
Clay
Arizona.
Webb. Yeah, he is very good. Clay Webb from Jacksonville State.
Took some punches, took a spin move, and still the defensive lineman didn't get 3 yards in on him. He just freaking took everything.
Joey and I have had a first-round grade on Clay Webb since the summer. That's the surprising thing. We've had him very high on our boards for much of this process because a friend at Walmart told Joey about Clay Webb, and I basically said the same thing in the summer.
Those are the best ones, man, that you get a comment from someone else. It's like, you know, on my evaluations, I take requests, you know, and I'll look over a player and it's going to be honest.
And the thing is, we did do a Jacksonville State versus Louisville game in the fall, and Clay Webb looked good in that game. Even though Louisville whooped Jacksonville State's ass, Clay Webb looked good in that game. Pass blocking, run blocking, pass blocking strength, run blocking strength, pass blocking footwork, run blocking footwork. Everything was there for Clay Webb against Thor Griffin, the Louisville defensive tackle. He checked all those boxes despite the loss. So,
yeah. And there's some athletic linemen here in this, and, you know, fitting the San Francisco, you know, zone blocking scheme. There's a few of them, you know, that actually fit. You know, they're athletic. They got good footwork, and that's what they need, you know, with some of these rushers now that show up with, you know, 4 or 5 speed and everything else, and they're, you know, close to 300 pounds. It's like, you know, I mean, you got to be athletic and you got to be strong as hell. but definitely seeing a lot of it compared to this line at the American practice yesterday. I mean, looks like so far, they're getting pretty handled.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've got to repeat that again. Landon Jackson did not look like a first-round pick yesterday.
Landon Jackson did not look good yesterday, but I've had a second-round grade on Landon Jackson for most of the draft process, and a lot of the people had a first-round grade on Landon Jackson for most of the draft process. In the scouting group I'm in with Colton Edwards, Colton, Bill, they both had a first on Landon Jackson, but because he played so poorly yesterday, they've moved him out of the first round. But I've had a second-round grade on Landon Jackson for most of the process, an early second. But I think most fans are disappointed. That's the thing, William. A lot of fans are disappointed because they were hoping Landon Jackson would break out and move into that first round discussion, and it hasn't happened.
He was trying to learn yesterday. He was trying, like I said, experimenting, and it just didn't work in his favor. So he's got to clean some of that up, get back to his roots, things that he's good at, and show up on it. It's like some of those things just weren't working at all. It's like next, but he was trying hard. So there is that, I can see that with the second round grade,
Deion Walker, they're showing the players lining up in the huddle, learning some stuff, but not the drills. So,
let's see what we got here. They got this guy circled.
I'm going to reload the
Oh no, dude! Just
apparently, I read a report this morning that the Patriots scouts love Chiefs corner Trent McDuffie, but Belichick ended up trading that pick to the Chiefs to move down for Colt Strange. So Belichick overruled his scouts in his final draft before his second to last draft before he got fired.
Yeah, this LSU offensive lineman just got blown up, knocked onto the side.
Which one? Are we talking about the tackle or the guard, William?
Number 72 tackle. He was playing tackle.
Emery Jones. Emery Jones, all right.
Put on him. That was surprising after seeing him yesterday, but with some of the rivalries they get up, and like you said, some of that animosity they get up, and the competitors. I still love to see it, just as long as they don't get unsportsmanlike,
Okay, I do have some news. This is not good news. Ole Miss defensive tackle Walter Nolan and Princely Umani and the Ole Miss pass rusher are both headed to the locker room shaken up. You've got the medical trainer escorting both Ole Miss defensive linemen to the locker room. That is from Clint Goss, a Falcons insider, NFL Draft Dome. I got the clip. I'm not going to play the clip. It looks pretty bad. And I don't want to get in trouble for copywriting, but I've got the clip loaded on Twitter.
As soon as I spoke on here, there's a few, South Carolina.
TJ Edwards, there's a lot of people.
He just, as soon as I mentioned the line was standing up there, they're getting knocked around now. They're showing a few of it. So, take that for what it is.
And Frank Cervalli tweets that Caden Gould suffered a lacerated quadricep muscle, which was surgically repaired. The Montreal Canadiens 2020 first-round pick will be out indefinitely. So we get an injury update on that before we get an injury update on Miro Heiskanen. NFL Rumors is saying that Mark Andrews is going to be a trade candidate. But other people yesterday were saying Andrews isn't a trade candidate. So there's a lot of he said, she said stuff going on in the NFL right now.
It's real early. Like I said, usually if they're trying to bluff and, get a little bit more for him, say he's not available, that's usually later, towards the new year, when
and remember, there's 2 off seasons in the NFL now. There's 2 free agency cycles. There's the first free agency cycle before the draft, and there's the second free agency cycle with the post-June 1st players that you can cut to save cap space. So there's 2 cycles in the offseason now. The NFL has 2 off seasons, essentially, pre-June 1st and post-June 1st.
Remember, we were talking about cyborgs, man. All of these offensive linemen got double knee braces on.
Yep.
Keeps them from blowing up a knee, though.
It's like Cyberball 2072. But there's only 6 games in that. There's only 6 teams in Cyberball 2072. There's I'll pull it up. I'll pull up the teams because there's only like 6. There's only 6 teams in that, I think.
Yeah.
I know
I don't
Kansas
remember
City
ever
and
playing that
Denver
one.
each had a team.
I remember playing Blitz. That was a blast.
Which Blitz? The original
The
Blitz?
original.
Yeah, the
Nintendo
original from the
64 one.
90s. That was the best one. But yeah, there's the Kansas City Crush, the Denver Flash, the Dallas Thunder, the Chicago Thunder, the Dallas Machine. Dallas Machine sounds way better than the Dallas Cowboys. The Pittsburgh
Yeah.
Invasion, who are purple, and the New Orleans Lightning. And the New Orleans Lightning have green. Their logo actually looks like a marijuana leaf. The New
That
Orleans
must have been
Lightning.
before the Tampa Bay Lightning. Cause,
Yeah, the New Orleans Lightning.
yeah, a little bit of copyright infringe there.
Yeah.
I'm mad about that kind of stuff.
Yep. But yeah, that's Cyberball. But let's see here. We got a drill. I think that's Shamar Stewart going up against Emery Jones. And Stewart is pushing Jones back, but then Jones pushes Stewart away to get the pancake. Not better job by Emery Jones there.
I just saw Walter Nolan here. This is before the injury. And
yeah,
he won that
was
rep,
walking off the field. Is he okay?
It's not that far yet, so.
And Nazir Stackhouse gets neutralized on the blitz.
Yeah.
I think this is I think this guy, Willie Lampkin, he used to play for Coastal Carolina, and then he transferred to North Carolina. I know that because when Willie Lampkin was a sophomore redshirt, he was on Tony Mario's radar.
Yeah, and I definitely remember that name.
Yep.
When
so there's an Arkansas State center in this draft, and he's going up against a defensive player. We don't even know what defensive player he's going up against because the defensive player doesn't have a logo on their helmet. They have one of those white anti-concussion helmets, but there's no logo on the helmet, so I don't know what school that is. Deion Walker versus Garrett Dellinger, and Walker wins that rep, almost sacks a Senior Bowl coach. What is it with Walker? Wow. He's like the hitman. Yesterday, he knocked down one of the coaches in the pad level, and today he almost knocks down a coach without a pad. What is it with Walker trying to put a bounty on these coaches?
Make them remember you. That's what my dad said. You were talking about jobs the other day, you know, how you go get them in the interview process.
Yeah, you're right. You
make them remember you. I put in some application one time. Oh, man, it was just completely tongue-in-cheek. When it got to the end, it was references, and I said, although references are just one asshole's opinion of another, you know, as I'm sure Jeffrey Dahmer and Ted Bundy could have got just as good references as Mahatma Gandhi and MLK. But anyway, it was tongue-in-cheek, and it was hilarious. I got the job. They had over like 1,500 applications, dude. I got one of like 3 jobs. I was like, yeah, make them remember you. So yeah, knocking over coaches, that's a good way, man. It might be bad if you hit them hard enough, you know, just lightly tap them.
Mason Taylor just dropped a defender on a block that is
Really?
Yeah.
I like that, especially, you know, coming from a tight end.
These practices must have taken place before Walter Nolan walked off with an injury, because these practices must have been filmed at like noon or 1:30, and they're airing them now.
Yep. Let's see what else.
Duke Tobin on Trey Hendrickson. We can't have guys at the top of the payroll in every position. We'll do what we can. We'll do what we feel is right, and we will try to get Trey re-signed.
Trey is very undervalued, you know, for what he does. He was right up there in sacks.
Yeah, he could very easily end up winning Defensive Player of the Year this year. He's one of the finalists along with Garrett, Watt, Micah Parsons.
I can see that. I can see that for sure. The Cowboys didn't make an impression this year, though. Not quite sure what they were doing, but it kind of seemed like just remedial football, whatever is coming from them. I don't think Schottenheimers have never known, any of them Marty Schottenheimer. They're known for just straight up football play. That's traditional. That's just it's solid, but there's nothing flashy about it. And that's one of those things. It happens.
So that's what that is.
Staff edition. Yeah, that's one.
Titans fan Tommy Callahan, extend Arden Key, draft Abdul Carter. And then my response is, what about Harold Landry? Because Landry's their best edge rusher. Arden Key, you're going to have to buy out Arden Key or Landry if you draft Carter at 1. And you can. If you don't like the quarterbacks, you can go that route. If you think Carter's a generational talent, you can definitely go that route.
Yeah, for sure. Hold on a minute.
But I think if the Titans draft him, they're going to buy out Key or they're going to buy out Harold Landry. I don't think there's an if or. One of those guys, probably Key, is going to get demoted to situational pass rusher or bought out.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, they're in there making a shake, so I'm interested in breakfast. It's got kale and stuff, and it's like all healthy and
there's some fresh bananas.
One of those
That's
things.
cool. So
I'll be all hip and bouncy here in a little bit.
Yeah, the shakes sound good. I mean, I'm almost halfway through my hot chocolate. I'm trying to pace myself though.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of Senior Bowl action reps, one-on-ones. Clay Webb's lining up at center here. This should be interesting, and he pushes Cam Jackson back. So Clay Webb can play center as well as left guard. He's not just a pure left guard. He can play center too. That's going to help him out a lot.
Yeah. Versatility is one of those things. That's that Ron Rivera looked for. He was another one of those solid coaches, and then really conservative, and then he broke out and they started calling him Riverboat Ron, and because he started going forward on 4th downs. He still wasn't comfortable with it though. And he was a good coach, but
Willie Lampkin pulled Dellinger aside because Dellinger, he had that look of he's not showing the same intensity and confidence that he did the first day, like Emory Jones. Emory Jones looks better today, though.
I can agree with that.
Not a lot better, but he looks a little bit better.
Yeah. I don't know.
And there, RJ Oben, the son of Roman Oben, gets by Jones in the one-on-ones, and a flag is thrown on the play. And is that Princely Umanawari who won that rep? Defensive end for Ole Miss. I think it is because, yeah, Princely has a dark blue Ole Miss helmet and Walter Nolan has a light blue Ole Miss helmet.
Yeah,
because Ole Miss has multiple helmets. Yeah, I didn't notice that initially, but I just noticed that now.
Trying to get noticed. Another thing, man. It's the little things in life.
Agreed.
Let's see. Hey, look, I found something. No, I didn't.
Can't they split screen the Senior Bowl reps and the commercials like they do with games on NBC on Sunday Night Football? That's what they need to do. Screen. You could still play ads during the Senior Bowl, but split screen the Senior Bowl practices and the commercials, so everybody wins. The fans can watch the game, and you can put the commercials in and still make money, and everybody wins.
Yeah, they do it for games. It's like, well, why not? I can look at one side of the screen. I don't care if it's smaller.
We could still watch the practice reps, and you could still air the commercials. Okay, NFL Network, this is not hard. This is very easy to execute in this day and age with all the ads. I mean, they split screen ads during the games all the time. This should be very easy for NFL Network to execute. They're basically choosing not to execute it, or you pay for NFL Plus, you don't have to watch the ads. That's basically what they're saying. Yeah. Red Bull Zero gives you wings. And then they, the pizza jalapeno pineapple. I'm sorry, Domino's. That does not look good. The loaded chicken with the barbecue and the mashed potatoes and the cheese, that could be decent, but they cut away from that commercial for the Lowe's commercial with Scott Hansen. This thing, they've aired this commercial 50 times since week 1 of the regular season, the Lowe's home team. It's just a very repetitive commercial.
Yeah, that's all I get anymore, and they don't even put them at the right times. They just kind of flash in on them.
But a lot of companies apparently have pulled out of the Super Bowl ads. Sucks because
All right, we'll get out of there.
Bleacher Report, Super Bowl 59 ads sell as much as $8 million ahead of NFL broadcast. Vulture Super Bowl 59 ads. Billy Crystal joined Instagram. Meg Ryan and Billy Crystal are in a Hellman's mayonnaise commercial. Does Billy Crystal sack Will Levis? Because I think that'd be a great Hellman's commercial. Have a celebrity sack Will Levis in a Hellman's commercial, and then when Will Levis gets sacked, mayonnaise lands on his face and he's covered in mayonnaise. I think that'd be a great ad for a Hellman's commercial. I swear.
Oh
William,
man, I switched. I literally used to eat Hellman's mayonnaise. Well, it's Best Foods out here west of the Mississippi. But
yeah, but there's a Meg Ryan Billy Crystal commercial. Hellman's. I hope Will Levis is in the commercial too. GoDaddy's gonna have a Italian race car driver yelling "Go Speed Racer." So really, GoDaddy is going to make a speed. GoDaddy, if you're gonna reference Speed Racer, you better put Speed Racer in the frickin' Super Bowl ad. Otherwise, that is a complete failure on your part.
Dude, I mean, it can't cost that much, to get them come in. I mean,
yeah,
Speed Racer, that was when I was a kid, dude. I love that.
I mean, if you're gonna yell "Go Speed Racer," you have to have the Racer X Speed Racer car in the commercial and the driver, right. Okay? Otherwise, it doesn't work. It's like, I'm sorry, it doesn't work if you don't put the actual Speed Racer in your commercial. That's disrespectful to Speed Racer. I'm not having it, William. I am not going to allow these corporations to disrespect Speed Racer. It's not happening on this show. Martha is a brat. Martha Stewart Uber Eats commercial. Yeah, exactly.
I remember watching that. I watched MTV too.
Yeah,
that ages me, man.
So there's a Wonka Nerds commercial. A guy playing a guitar. There's a Doja Cat's Not Allowed. The Ultra Hustle movie, the Michelob. I'm reading some of the commercials that they've pitched, and there's a Bud Light commercial. Shane Gillis in his natural habitat, and Shane Gillis and Post Malone, they are drinking Bud Light. And, man, Bud Light, remember, Bud Light got boycotted for being woke a few years ago. It's like they're just trying to revive it. Bud Light, they're just trying to make it relevant again.
Save some face. Whatever.
But these commercials all sound like crap. There's a Budweiser commercial that says, "Papa, please let me deliver beer," and it's got the horses in it. So the Budweiser commercial really is the only commercial of these that don't suck. I mean, just based on what Vulture's revealed to us, Budweiser's the only commercial that looks like it's going to be funny, and the rest of these just look horrible.
Yeah, for sure.
And there might be other ads
that come on so loud, bro.
Last minute, but Jalen Milroe's up, so we're gonna watch Milrose. We can talk about Super Bowl ads in a few weeks when we preview the Super Bowl. But
they come on so loud though. Just one last thing, man. It's like, whoa! You gotta grab the remote and hit mute. It's like, oh, that's crazy, man.
RJ Harvey's in the backfield with Jalen Milroe.
Right. RJ Harvey is a hard running back, and he might be behind Cam Scatterbo, but he did his thing. What is he, like 5'9", like 220?
Milroe went through multiple progressions there. It felt like he was looking at multiple receivers, but he underthrew Dominic Lovett on that incomplete pass. He underthrew him on a medium pass. That's the thing. He either overthrows on deep passes or underthrows on medium passes. There's not that fine consistency.
He goes into his throwing motion before his feet hit the ground, and it's just not a good look. He needs to slow down. He is like Hammy off of Over the Hedge, when they give him that energy drink. I mean, that is literally Milroe, and but he also, in college, year before last,
Devin Neal
his
took
overall
off,
time
ran for a
was
gain of 7. It looked like he could have had a first down, but really good run by Devin Neal here as Willie Lampkin hikes the ball to Milrow, and Milrow hands it off to Neal, and Neal sees the hole, and he does a good job attacking the hole. And if those
snapped
guys
at
didn't
throw,
touch him, Neal would have gotten a touchdown on that run.
snapped at throw. Milrow spent 3.45 seconds. What was he doing back there that whole time? It's like one of those things to get rid of the ball quick. It's like Brock Purdy when he came out. He got rid of the ball quick. Live to play another down if you just got to throw it away or if you're gonna miss.
And
don't get going too fast.
Milrow ends up handing it off to Devin Neal again, and this time number 7 brings him down on a tackle. Number 7 on the defense. Who is that? Is that an Auburn defensive back? Looks like an Auburn defensive back.
Yeah.
Some linemen rotating in and out of the lineup here.
Neal's not getting much play either, and he's got some potential.
Devin Neal's got the last 2 carries, actually, William. Devin Neal got the last 2 carries, but now Jackson Dart is coming in for Milrow. I don't think Milrow's done enough to redeem his stock yet. So Dart's got to show us something here. Otherwise, Ewers is QB3 by default, unfortunately.
That's the definition of Dart, though, is he's going to show something, but then, he has days like yesterday where he goes downhill, and he's streaky. There is a picture of him in the dictionary.
Yeah, the pad level with Deion Walker, I can see why people are saying the pad level's too high because he has the rip and swim moves to win one-on-ones. It's just sometimes he's neutralized on plays. And I never really took the pad level into account with linemen, but that's probably why he doesn't win consistently because he does win. He has the rip and swim moves. He does win pass rushing reps. He does win run stuffing reps, but he doesn't win those reps consistently. And I'm starting to think it's the pad level with him.
That's, like I said, Landon Jackson, he was getting pushed around, got pushed to the ground.
And Deion Walker wins that rep. He uses a swim move, gets by the line of scrimmage, gets a tackle for a loss as he touches the running back.
That's good stuff because you'd have somebody, just getting to him.
And he got by the Kansas tackle. Is that Logan Brown, who's the Kansas tackle in this draft? Logan Brown, is that who they have? Because that's probably who will add to the offensive tackle rankings.
Yeah. And,
Yeah, it's Logan Brown. So that'll be one of the names we add to the tackle rankings after.
Drew Sanders, he had that rip and swim move. And, I mean, he could get into that backfield and knock the running back out of the way. I saw that against Cincinnati. He lit the quarterback.
And Jackson Dart throws a nice screen pass to Jackson Hawes, the Georgia Tech tight end. Really good job by him. And, Jackson Dart hardly had any time to get off that screen pass. I mean, they got by Jonas Savannah pretty quickly because Jonas Savannah was lined up at left tackle on this rep, and the defense just got by really quickly. And, Dart with a nice throw to Hawes there. Really good job by him getting rid of the ball quickly, getting the screen pass.
Yeah, and I feel he can definitely come up, but he's swimming between, the end of round 3 and, maybe that first pick in round 4, somebody coming in and maybe trading up
And
for him.
Trevor Etienne with a nice carry here. Trevor Etienne, the Georgia running back, started out at Florida his first 2 years and transferred to Georgia. Sold out, betrayed his campus to go to a rival campus, fails to win national championship with rival campus. That's the only reason he went to Florida to win a championship.
Yeah. And that's
Seth
I
Vernigan
should have seen
and the
that
Delaware running back.
I had my doubts in Carson Beck, and he proved every bit of that, and it's like, I mean, so it was a good thing that he went back to college. Milrow should have gone back to Alabama with
Marcus Yearns. Milrow should have gone back, but I think he declared because he figured he was good. He was considering declaring last year. And here's the thing: when a guy considers declaring and they go back, they usually declare if they're a junior redshirt and they have their degree and they feel like they got nothing left to prove. But if Milrow had went back, Alabama would be a legitimate contender for the college football playoff with home games against LSU this year.
Quinn Ewers, it was solid of him to come back to Texas, with Manning breathing down his neck. And, they had Malik Murphy the year before. That was also, right there. And Ewers, had that confidence. He's got that arrogant, the cockiness, should I say. It's not arrogance, but one of those things that
Seth
I love at
Hurtigan
quarterback.
gets stopped by Knight on is that South Carolina? Knight, the linebacker in South Carolina, with a good tackle against Marcus Yarns. Marcus Yarns. I keep saying Yarns. It's Yarns. Yarns, like a ball of yarn.
We murder names.
Yeah.
That was one good thing about Logan, then, is you would always look it up. It's like, thanks, man.
Logan Landers. Yeah.
Maybe we'll get him on the show.
Yeah, Logan. I would love to talk with Logan. That was fun.
Yeah. Maybe next week.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, Jalen Milroe, I'd even be open to a collaboration. If Logan does want to record one of his shows on this streaming platform, I'd be open to that. But Milroe drops back, 3 seconds to throw, and he gets picked off by Jack Kaiser. Kaiser intercepts Milroe. But don't worry, Emory Jones has your back, Jalen Milroe. Emory Jones is not going to allow a Notre Dame guy to get a pick six on you, even though you're SEC rivals. And what a play by Jack Kaiser to intercept Milroe.
Yep. Got to watch out for them linebackers.
And that was a good quarterback hurry by Oben, too. RJ Oben with a good quarterback hurry to pressure Milroe. The two Notre Dame defensive players team up and intercept Milroe there. I think that's the first interception we've seen of Senior Bowl week, William. If you told me Milroe was going to throw the first interception, I think he would have had the lowest odds of throwing the first interception of the week.
Yeah. Leave that up to somebody else.
Because if he, I did not come into this thing thinking that Milroe would have the first interception of the week. It's just, I would have figured one of the QBs on Dylan Gabriel or one of the other QBs would have thrown the first pick.
That pick, compared to 3 fumbles by Dart yesterday, that, like I said, that puts Milroe above him.
Yeah, that's the thing Milroe has going for him, is he can argue that he didn't fumble the ball 3 times.
And Dart's got decent hands. I think he's got like 10 and a quarter or something like that.
9 5/8. He's got the biggest hands here. He's the only QB with bigger hands than Jared Goff.
Yeah. And then you got, alligator hands in Milroe. I actually got a picture of him to put in my evaluation that's coming out today. And you can see his grip on the football, that he has small hands. It's like just obvious.
Yeah, 8 3/4. 8 3/4. His hands are technically bigger than Pickett's, but I have all the combine data archived. I can look up the hand sizes for previous QB draft classes if you want me to.
I was an exception. His thumb was kind of messed up, but see, that's the problem. I had no plan. Is my thumbs do that? Go backwards. So it was gripping a football. If I can see a guy's hands, a quarterback's hands, if they have that, that's not good. They need bigger hands. I got 10-inch hands, 10 and a quarter, and that was.
I think the only QB that I've seen with 10-inch hands is Bryce Underwood, the freshman at Michigan. Like, his hands are massive. Yeah. Like, he hasn't even played it down yet. I already know he has NFL hands. I don't even need the measurements.
Yeah, and Drew Brees had 10 and a quarter. I'm pretty sure, and he's barely 6 foot tall.
Yeah,
just right there. But still one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever set foot on the field, though. Wish I could see more players like him. But Nix is kind of like I said. Sean Payton was gonna see a little bit of Drew Brees in Bo Nix, and that's why he was gonna draft him. And I said that, and it happened. It was just obvious. And I said the same thing with the priority free agent they signed, Blake Watson. He is Alvin Kamara type back, and even it came out before the season, in the preseason, that Sean Payton said that, and then they tried to stash him on the practice squad, which they did, but they had to quiet that up a little bit because he is a good back. Coming out of Memphis,
agreed.
I mean, he showed patience running, and he showed getting out of the backfield, and he showed enough speed. It was one of those things where.
But they keep changing the days of the combine. It used to be the QB's day 1. Now the QBs are on day 3, but they change the format each year so that QBs still work out on Saturday, but then Sunday and Thursday. And because it used to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then they made it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. and then they keep changing the formats and have the QBs on different days. But yeah, Jane Daniels had 9.25-inch hands. So Jane Daniels' hand size was the same as Goff's, even though his hands look bigger than Goff's. Drake
'cause
May's
he's like
hands are
Gumby.
smaller than Goff's, but barely 9 1/8 versus 9 1/4. Milton, Nick's 9 7/8, Penix 10 3/8. So Milton, Caleb Williams 9 3/4. So basically, none of the QBs last year had small hands. And I'm trying to find the Combine archives. I can type it in here. Let's see. NFL Combine. I can
That's
go
one
to
thing
public
about this
on my
quarterback
site.
class is it's like, you know, during Heisman race, there wasn't a quarterback that was standing out. And
Yeah.
it still hasn't come to that, you know. But
Cam Ward's the only QB I got a first round grade on, but there are imperfections with Cam Ward. It's not like he's a blue chip or I think he's a borderline Pro Bowl QB, but I think he's borderline, and I don't think he's going to be that right out of the gate. That's the other thing.
I had him right above Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers was beginning of the second, top 45 pick, and Ward was end of the first. You know, I mean, he had plenty of imperfections, but he still played some ball and has the experience, you know, coming through Washington State and what Incarnate Word. And, you know, I saw another one come out of Incarnate Word last year, Lindsey Scott Jr. And I mean, that kid could play. And I said, you know, he's going to be in somebody's camp this fall. And then he was in somebody's camp. He got 2 offers, you know, and then ended up going up to the UFL. But it was one of those.
Yeah, they're back from commercials, but I do have the archived stuff. They are back from commercials, but I do. But what's strange about Kenny Pickett, he did not throw it in completion the entire Senior Bowl, the entire Combine. He was the first QB in history to go the entire Senior Bowl practice, the entire Senior Bowl game, and the entire Combine without an incomplete pass. His first incompletion didn't occur until his pro day. And that's how you build momentum leading up to the draft. But yeah, Pickett was 8.5-inch hands.
Like I said,
you were right on
Pickett,
that. I thought he was 8 3/4, but yeah, you were right. He's 8.5. Pickett.
He was 8.5. Then he did some hand stretches and went to 8 5/8 at his pro day.
Skylar Thompson was also 8 5/8. By the way, Skylar Thompson was 8 5/8. Okay, here's Milrow.
I like Skylar Thompson. It was an interesting.
Hands it off to ETN.
Got me into this whole writing thing.
I have not seen Milrow throw a pass since the interception. But maybe I've just been focused on getting the measurements for some other things. I don't know.
Let him cool off a little bit before you let him throw it and gain his confidence.
Ivy and Seth Hennigan's back in the game, but he keeps looking at the coach. So that confidence, that's going to be an issue with Hennigan, just like it was an issue with Dart yesterday.
Yeah.
All these guys look like they're NFL backups right now.
That's exactly what Hennigan looked like. We were just talking about Blake Watson, and you know, Hennigan was there at Memphis.
And I think their best player is actually Rock Taylor, the wide receiver. I know a lot of people haven't talked about Rock Taylor, but I think Rock Taylor is actually their best player on offense. But Hennigan and Watson have gotten a lot of the hype.
Rock Taylor popped on film. He is a good running or wide receiver.
How come he's not in the All-Star game and Hennigan and Watson are in the Senior and Shrine Bowl? I think it's just the exposure. The other players, they've got more exposure, I guess. But yeah, Jackson Dart's in the huddle now, calling the plays. Dart's looked a little better today, but he did so bad on day 1. It's like he's going to need a good day 2 and a day 3 just to get back in that day 2 conversation. He's going to need a good day 2 and a good day 3. Completing a screen pass, while it's a good read by him, I need to see more from him. All right, 1, 2, 3. Goes through 3 progressions and completes a short to medium pass. But it's fumbled, and Maxwell Hairston recovers the fumble and takes it for a touchdown.
Oh, God.
I'm not blaming Dart for that throw. No. That was just a very good defensive play. Because, you know, Dart made 3 out of 6 progressions, but the Auburn player stripped the football, and then Hairston picked it up and ran it for a touchdown, William. You can't really fault Dart for that. That's on the receiver for not holding onto the ball. It's just a great defensive play and just a better job by Hairston picking up the ball and taking off for the races.
The two games
You can't really blame Dart for that.
The two games that really got me intrigued with Jackson Dart was against Alabama 2 years ago, and against Alabama this year.
Because I only saw Dart make
LSU
one or
last
two
year.
progressions in previous years at Ole Miss. The fact that he made 3 in the Senior Bowl is an improvement, in my opinion.
Yeah, and
So
he like I said, he was making progression. He went head to head with Jaden Daniels and beat him. You know, that was one of those games I was like, oh man, look at this guy. He can do something next year. He just hadn't stood out, man. So he's, like I said, hovering around that day 3.
Milrose Dart's had a better day 2 versus day 1. Milrose still struggling on day 2. He had the underthrown pass, the interception.
Oh man, that makes me feel it.
I mean, Milroe might fall to day 3 if this continues. I mean, I still have Milroe ahead of Dart, but like, I feel like both QBs are in jeopardy of falling to day 3. But Dart's playing well enough to keep his odds of going in day 2 alive. But I think Milrose had a worse week in Mobile than Malik Willis did, and Malik Willis fell to like the end of the 3rd round.
Malik Willis was off on passes. I mean, he had the arm strength, but he really didn't have the size. He was one of those ones that was, putting everything he could into a throw, and I wasn't that hot on him, and
yeah, I know Joey and I had him as the QB1 that year, but that was not a good QB draft in 22. Outside of Purdy, everyone else is disappointed.
Yeah, I had Matt Corral first, but
I think I did have Corral as QB1 initially, just based off the game film. 1.
He played with anger.
Goes through his second read. That is the first time I saw Milroe go through more than one read, and he completed the pass. So that was a deep pass. It was a good. That was a good job by Milroe. That was probably his best throw of the week.
He does throw some dots, here and there.
Yeah, and that was a deep ball throw. Ball throw, and that's his strength. That's his bread and butter. Those vertical chuck Hail Mary passes. That seems to be his bread and butter.
And it's like, we talked about before, quarterbacks when they get down, down in the red zone and such, they throw a lot of high passes. Jaden Daniels was, really, he did a lot of that. And, just trying to get those mismatches. That's where they need those tight ends and tall receivers, to get their hands up to the ones that have.
That's what I want to see more from Milroe, but we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, it's been about an hour, Chris. I'm gonna bail before my phone dies or something.
What battery is your phone at?
It is where did it go? 18%. Last time it died at like 7.
All right. Can you stay until it's at like 15 or 10%,
Sure.
Then bail? Because it's like I want to try to get all of the show, but I know part of it is your phone's bailing, and it's like some people they can watch an hour of this and they have enough information to make a verdict. Me, I try to watch as much as I can.
This is an exciting time of year because it's my bread and butter. It's not a rush like the football season is, trying to evaluate some of these players and tell how good they're doing. I mean, I can put it on paper, put it real in depth right now, and I love it. Because it's, like I said, I'm a writer. Yeah,
because there's not. With NFL games not on, it's a lot easier to take your time and come up with a concise write-up. Unless you're in mock draft hell like me, because I'm in mock draft hell. I know I'm in mock draft hell because I've only got 20 of the 42 write-ups in the first MLB mock that I'm working on done. There was a big WNBA trade that screws up April's WNBA mock, which is before the NFL draft, and then there's the NFL mock draft that I got to update too. So I'm officially in mock draft hell, William. It's not a fun place to be in.
Yeah,
I do it for my readers. I do it for our fans, but I'm just giving you a warning, a heads up. Mock draft hell is real. It's not a fun place to be in.
That's what I'm saying. I've thought about putting together like mock drafts and stuff, and it's like, I'd just rather grade them where they're at, where I feel they should go.
Yeah, it's more fun. It's easier and it's more fun to just grade players. And if you're locked into on one sport like the NFL, it's easier. If you're just locked in on one sport, like I'm covering 6 different sports, so it's like it's a little harder. But if you're only covering one sport, all you have to do is lock in on the prospects and have fun with it. That's really all you got to do.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man.
That would be my advice and William's advice to newer people that want to get into the draft community for whatever
Yes, sir.
sport you want to get in the community for.
I'll tell you what, man, the first time, you Google your name or something or a player and you see, something written about your opinion on a player, that's a crazy good feeling. Anybody who wants to write, I suggest you at least try it. We're not needed, but it's fun as hell and I love it.
Yeah. It definitely is. And a lot of these writers, they go to the Senior Bowl, they go to these all-star games. Like, I'll show my audience some media credentials before we sign off to give our audience a
and that's how I got started. We were just talking about Skylar Thompson.
Where you want to go with this stuff. You gotta have that. You gotta have that point to where you gotta know what you want to do and how.
And that's the one thing.
You gotta know. You gotta know how you want to get there.
Yeah, and what
I've only
did.
got like 3 media credential things, but it's enough to give our audience a basic starting point. First draft I went to was not the NFL draft. It was the very last MLS draft. They made the drafts virtual in 2020. This was the very last draft that was available to the public in 2019 in Chicago. Then I went to the Senior Bowl 2020, 2021. I got 2 of these. I don't know where the other one is. It's not really important. Then I went to the East-West Shrine Bowl at Allegiant Stadium. I went there because it's Las Vegas. It looked cool. And I wanted to go to Las Vegas Allegiant Stadium. I wanted to go to the Shrine Bowl with the Patriots coaching there 2 years ago. I wanted to go there. I got to see Zay Flowers. So the more you put yourself out there, the more media passes you get. I've tried to apply for the CHL prospects game in Canada. They rejected my pass. I've tried to apply for the MLB draft, but you got to get like an MLB media pass 6 months in advance. They don't reject you, but you have to apply for the pass 6 months in advance. It's a very formal process with the MLB. So I probably could get an MLB draft pass, but you got to apply 6 months out. By 6 months out.
That's how I got into this. You're just talking about Skylar Thompson. I found someone, that was going into football or was in football. And, I wrote 2 short things because Skylar Thompson and Bailey Zappi, they both got started, Bailey Zappi for the Patriots and Skylar Thompson for the Dolphins in the same situation. The starter got hurt, backup come in, got hurt, and they were in by week 3 starting, and it was one of those things. I just wrote up a couple little quips about him, sent him to the guy, and he's like, well, can you do that all the time? I'm like, yeah, got him. So
yeah, and this is the thing. If you work for CBS or ESPN, you can apply for a pass to the NBA or WNBA draft. They'll just hand it to you. You don't have to jump through any hoops. If you're a smaller company, you have to jump through hoops, and you're not guaranteed the media pass. That's the other thing, because I would go to more draft events with different media passes. I would genuinely go to more sporting events, whether it's NBA, WNBA, MLB, you name it. I'd do it. But you got to make the process easier for guys like me. If you want me to put myself out there, I'll do it. But you got to make the process, the interview process, a little bit easier for guys like me so that we can jump through hoops like the reporters without having to jump through hoops like the reporters at CBS and ESPN. You got to make things a little bit easier for me.
Yep. It's just one of those things, man. Find your path and go.
And if you reject me, fine. I'll just live stream here and save my money. I'm good either way. I'm not going to be upset with rejection because I can just live stream here and save my money. It's a win for me either way.
I get into these conversations on Facebook all the time with, there's like Steve Kaiser from, the Michigan Panthers GM and stuff like that. And it's like, they message me, I talk to them, and it's like one of the first things.
Because if you're starting out with football, Senior Bowl and the Shrine Bowl are the 2 I'd recommend. They approve anybody that applies to their games. If you get they will give you a media pass if you apply to the game, but they will check your ID to make sure you're the right person and everything. Yep. But yeah. If you want to get started with this, the Senior Bowl and the Shrine Bowl are the 2 I'd recommend for any journalist, any sports viewer that wants to get involved in the draft as a media member, those are the two I would recommend starting out with. You can try to get involved in the NHL draft or the MLB draft, but I've applied for both the NHL. I went to the NHL draft with my dad in 2012 as a kid when it was in Pittsburgh, and I've applied for NHL draft media credentials for the CHL prospects game in Canada, but they rejected me. And I've applied for MLB stuff, but they didn't reject me, but they told me you have to apply 6 months out. And since you're Draft Utopia, the only thing they would give me credentials for is the MLB draft. Wherever the All-Star game's at, that's where I'd have to travel to. And that's really the only area where I would get like credentials and stuff. So, and I'd have to apply 6 months out in advance. And that's just a pain in the ass. There should be a 3-month deadline, not a 6-month deadline. You know, William, there should just be a 3-month deadline. Like the Senior Bowl, you can apply for media passes from December until a week or two before the game. At the start of December, it's a very formal, very simple process. That's how it should be with all the sporting events, whether it's hockey draft, NBA. From the month before the draft to 2 weeks before the draft, that's your window to apply for a media pass. That's how it should be with all the drafts, because I think that's the simplest and most straightforward way to handle everything. There should not be, you have to apply 6 months in advance. That's stupid.
Yeah.
6 months, because people are going to forget that this is happening 6 months from now. So if that's your deadline,
Yeah, that's because that's your off season going through the season.
how many people are
lot of
thinking
stuff,
about
man.
the MLB drafts in July? The MLB drafts in July. So I would have had to apply for the MLB draft 2 weeks ago if I wanted to go as a media member. How stupid is that? Nobody's thinking about the MLB draft in January. They're thinking about the NFL playoffs. They're thinking about the Senior Bowl. They're thinking about the Shrine Bowl. They're thinking about the NHL All-Star Game or the NBA All-Star Game. They're not thinking about the MLB draft in January. They're not. I mean, college baseball doesn't even start until the week after the Super Bowl. So, I mean, it's very, to say that's when you have to apply for the MLB credentials, it's very dumb process, in my opinion. I get it. If that's the process and it's not going to change, I get it. I understand the rules, but I think it's a very stupid process. And like the MLS College Showcase. MLS College Showcase is a private event. Only teams and scouts on teams can attend the MLS College Showcase. That's stupid. You need to make it like the Senior Bowl, where any fan who applies for the media pass can go and watch the MLS College Showcase with the scouts. Maybe they get a separate section than the scouts, but anybody who has a media pass can go and interview players there, because the MLS wants to make their draft events relevant like the Senior Bowl. That's how you have to do it. I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings, but that's how you have to do it. Because that's the only way
That's one thing. It can't hurt your feelings, man. People are going to tell you no or ghost you all the time, you know, and it's just.
And I don't really care either way, but I'm just saying, if you want to make soccer more popular, more relevant, you have to make it to like the Senior Bowl, where any media member who applies gets a pass and they get the same treatment as the scouts. But you can have them sit in separate sections as the scouts. You can restrict them from going onto the field and interviewing players. And if a player wants to interview a media member, they go up in the stands and they do the interview in the bleachers, in the seats. You can make it like that. You can put rules and procedures in play. But, you know, if you make it a private event where only scouts can attend, you're limiting the attendance, you're limiting the popularity, and you're limiting the demand for the event. And that's one thing the Senior Bowl has gotten right, and the Shrine Bowl. They don't limit the attendance, and they don't limit the demand for the event. Okay, your phone's at 6%. I just saw that, William. All right. There's a commercial. I really don't think we have. For day 2, I really don't think there's anything else going on. I mean, I'm at the point where I'm ready to end this. As much as I'd like to do all 2 hours, it's like, you know, we got to charge our phone.
They did that yesterday, though, too. You know, they got to the end, just started showing a bunch of commercials and, you know, wrapping it up.
And then they do the drills right after we sign off, because I signed off early for the first show. And then right when I sign off, they go back to doing drills, and it really pissed me off.
Yes, sir. All right, man. I'm
All
in
right,
bed.
that's William Yanish. He will be back tomorrow, though.
Yes, sir.
Go charge your phone, buddy, and we will. If you could keep your phone up until 100%, just until tomorrow morning, and then we could try to get more in. Maybe we'll get an hour and a half in if we're lucky tomorrow. But yeah, that would be my challenge for William. Just keep
All
your
right.
phone in the charger from now until tomorrow when we go live, and
I'll
then
turn it
just
off. Let it get a good charge.
yeah, you could still text me, but like if you charge it and you leave it at 100% until tomorrow, I think you will be able to get an hour and a half that
Yeah.
before first break, and then then another hour and a half after you charge it for a little bit. It won't go from 100 to 6 so quickly.
For sure.
All
I
right,
don't have the women in
have
the
a good
kitchen.
have a good day, man. That was William Yanish from Under the Bleachers. All right, so there's still some drills going on here, and I'm gonna put my media passes away. I'm gonna put my I was only presenting these to give audiences a basic idea of how to get your foot in the door when it comes to attendance events. Oh, and there's my other Senior Bowl pass. This was, I think this was 2020. The other one was 2021. So I've got like 4 badges. I've gone to hockey games to scout players. I've gone to basketball games. I've scouted college basketball games. I've gone to Duke games to scout. I went to the Duke game when Marvin Bagley was at Duke. I went to Pittsburgh. Yeah. Jack Beck, 1-on-1 against Snell Jr. And Jack Beck, not a bad play by Jack Beck, but Logan Brown is probably the player. Logan Brown is probably the player we're gonna and I'll see if we got anything from 17.5 million if he's cut after June. So Ernest Green did go back. Okay. That does reveal a lot. And Kansas Jayhawks left tackle Logan Brown will probably end up replacing Ernest Green because I think Ernest Green went back to Georgia. And I would probably move Belton ahead of him. I would probably move Belton up to 11. Brown at 12. And Carmona's probably OT 14. Yeah, so is Xavier Truss in the draft? I know Ruben Fatheree is. I'm just kind of curious what's happening here. Xavier Truss is in the draft. Yeah, I think Xavier Truss is in the draft, so I'm going to leave him. I'm going to leave Carmona. There's some tackles though. Great Zabel, Greg Zabel, Gray Zabel. Yeah, we'll put Gray Zabel in at OT 18. I know there's some people that have Gray Zabel in the second round. I don't see it. Every year there's a North Dakota State tackle who gets overdrafted, and it just doesn't work out at the. I mean, they're great in college, but they don't work out at the NFL level. And you're hoping they break out. You're hoping they do this and that. So there's one more tackle we got to replace. But yeah, we'll put Greg Zabel in round 7. I'm not as high on Zabel as the consensus. I know there's some people that have him in the top 50 that have him in round 1. I'm not as high on him. Cody Mock was an exception to the rule because Cody Mock was a really good guard prospect, day 1 starter. I don't think there's a lineman on Cody Mock's caliber from North Dakota State in this draft. I know there's a lot of people that like Zabel. Zabel's shown the versatility to play tackle and guard. That's what Dylan Reduns did. That's what Cody Mock did. And these North Dakota State guys, they're going to be on people's radars, whether you like it or not. That's the reality. And I need one more tackle to replace Zune. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with the Senior Bowl, the Shrine Bowl. I need to put one more tackle in my rankings to replace Trey Zune. But we have most of the tackles set up. And once this is done, I'm probably going to work on the MLB mock. Yeah. I wish we knew what was happening with Bregman. You know, can we please get some information on Miro or Bregman?
Maybe I would say Houston, kind of where they at least have a starting point.
Yeah, so yeah, and there we see a pass broken up. I wish we had an update on Bregman. That's what makes it frustrating because Bregman's still a free agent. Bregman could still end up coming back to the Astros. Pete Alonso, the home run derby champion, is also a free agent. So there's guys still out there in the MLB free agency market, but they just haven't signed. And most of the pitchers have already signed their deals. The batters have not signed their deals. And I think part of it is, I think Bregman's that first big domino. And whenever we find out what happens with Bregman, then we'll find out what happens with Pete Alonso. And then I think the rest of the batting dominoes are going to fall into play. But yeah, Savannah's been playing left tackle today. Seth Hennigan lining up. It's 3:30 p.m., 12:30 Pacific. Practices for another 30 minutes. I'll be here until then. They might lose this one. Milrow drops back 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 progressions out of 6, and he completes the pass. Really good job by Milrow going through his progressions there. He went through 4. I counted 1, 2, 3, and then he went through the 4th progression, found the man open, and he got rid of it. So nice job there by Milrow. He went through 4 progressions on a throw. He looks better today. I do feel a little bit more comfortable about drafting him now than I did yesterday, but the accuracy's still going to have to get cleaned up. I don't think the progressions are as bad. I saw Milrow go through 4 out of 6. 1, 2, 3. And he's gone through 3, 4 reads consistently today. That's the thing with Milrow. My big issue with Milrow was the progressions. He's gone through 3, 4 reads consistently. And the footwork is still got to get cleaned up. All the throws he's made have either been 1-step or 3-step throws. I have not seen Milrow make a 5-step or a 7-step throw. I do think there's some limitations with Milrow in that respect. But we'll see. We'll see what he does. We'll see how his skill set translates. All right. You got a Browns coach calling up the plays at the Senior Bowl here. But yeah. So that's $26 million a year. Bregman wants $30 a year. The Astros offered him $26 million a year. Nobody else has matched that. Everyone else is only offering like $100 million, trying to lowball him. I would just take the $26 million a year and re-sign with the Astros. If you're being offered that, just take it. That's the best deal you're probably going to get. I know you're waiting for a 1-year $40 million deal or a 6 to 7 year deal where you're getting $30 million a year, but I just don't think that's on the table. I honestly don't think that's on the table. Or even a 7-year deal where you're making $25 million a year. That I don't think teams want to make that type of commitment to Bregman. And honestly, $156 million to go back to the Astros. That's $26 million a year. Okay, that's a good offer. That's the best offer you're probably going to get. Yeah, so I mean, we'll see what happens with Bregman. It's going to be interesting because that's a player that I expected. I expected Bregman to sign with somebody by now. Most of the signings in MLB free agency are yeah, and there's still some practices going on. The practices aren't over yet. Emory Jones getting into a collision player. Yeah, so Aaron Donald 2021 when the Rams won the Super Bowl. Chris Jones, Jalen Carter, each with 20 pressures. Each of those teams won the Super Bowl. So yeah, and Emory Jones, there are a lot of teammates fired up, encouraged by what he's doing. So that is a big trend. All right. Yeah, they're talking about the compete drill. Jack Beck. He's had a nice week. So if the Vikings are going after Trey Smith, that means Trey Smith will be the Vikings' new right guard. They'll move on from Ed Ingram. They'll probably trade him for a late round pick. Yeah, I'm waiting to see what happens. $26 million. Well, that's the thing. We'll see what happens with Bregman because Pete Alonso is also available, a home run derby winner. But neither one of those guys is signed yet. And like the baseball season's going to start in a few months. I know I'm going off topic here, but I've seen most of the practices and, my mind is gone completing the MLB mock draft. It does sound like Bregman wants a lot. We'll see what happens, though. Yeah, and they're airing Applebee's ads during the Senior Bowl. Look, if I wanted to go to Applebee's, I could. There's an Applebee's within walking distance of me, but I've just never been a fan of Applebee's. I think their food is very bland. It's just, you know. So yeah, they're showing Kunal is the Comcast engineers. Now, it does look like they're done practicing. The media members, they're doing interviews. So I would say we're done here because looking at the people walking, and yeah, they're interviewing Milrow now. So yeah, they're done with the practices. I'm going to end this show. We'll be back tomorrow. See you then.